Hello guys, welcome to Fictional Vortex. So in this video, we will see what if Naruto was the son of Odin, the All-Father successor wielding Gungnir Naruto x Freya, god of war/Norse myth. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 1, The Blood of Gods. The world was on fire, and Naruto couldn't remember how it started. One moment he'd been slurping ramen at Ichiraku's, laughing with Sakura about Kakashi's latest excuse for being late. The next, the sky split open with a sound like the world breaking. A beam of rainbow light crashed into the Hokage monument, and then he appeared. The stranger stood 7 feet tall, clad in gold armor that caught the sun and threw it back 100 times brighter. In one hand he held a massive sword that hummed with power. His eyes, gods, his eyes. They were solid gold, no whites, no pupils, just molten metal swirling in his sockets. Son of Odin, the stranger's voice boomed across Konoha. I have found you. And then the killing started. Naruto sprinted through the chaos now, dodging falling debris and leaping over craters. The gold-eyed giant hadn't come alone. Warriors in gleaming armor fought through Konoha streets, cutting down anyone in their path. ANBU forces engaged them but fell quickly. These invaders moved faster than civilians could see and shrugged off kunai like raindrops. Naruto. Over here. Kakashi waved from a rooftop, his mask splattered with blood and his Sharingan exposed. Naruto leapt up beside him. What the hell is happening? Who are these guys? No idea, Kakashi admitted. They're not using chakra, at least, nothing I can copy. He gripped Naruto's shoulder. They're looking for someone called Son of Odin. Any idea what that means? None, Naruto said, but something cold and strange twisted in his gut. The big one with gold eyes, he's heading for the Hokage Tower. Tsunade can handle herself, Kakashi said, but not against something like this. We need to. An explosion rocked the village, and they turned to see the Hokage Tower's upper floors collapse in a shower of concrete and glass. Granny Tsunade. Naruto formed the cross sign with his fingers. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 100 Narutos popped into existence, charging toward the tower while the original turned to Kakashi. Find Sakura and the others. Get the civilians to safety. He didn't wait for a response before leaping toward the heart of the destruction. As he raced across rooftops, Naruto noticed something weird. His body felt different, lighter, faster, stronger. He cleared gaps between buildings that should have been impossible even for him. When he landed on the remains of the tower's roof, he didn't even feel winded. The golden-eyed giant stood amid the rubble, holding Tsunade by the throat. Despite her legendary strength, she couldn't break his grip. Where is the child of Odin? The giant shook her. I can sense his blood in this wretched village. Speak, mortal. Put her down. Naruto's voice came out deeper than he expected, resonating strangely. Lightning crackled across his skin, though he hadn't used any lightning release jutsu. The giant turned, his golden eyes widening. He dropped Tsunade unceremoniously. There you are. The All-Father's bastard. He smiled, revealing teeth like polished metal. Heimdall sees all, even across realms. Your blood sings to me, godling. Naruto had no clue what the guy was talking about, but he knew a threat when he saw one. He caught Tsunade as she fell, setting her gently aside before facing Heimdall. I don't know who you think I am, Naruto said, but you picked the wrong village to attack. He summoned a Rasengan, but something strange happened. The swirling chakra sphere crackled with lightning and expanded to twice its normal size. Energy coursed through his body, making his hair stand on end and his whisker marks deepen and darken. Heimdall laughed. The power awakens. Good. It would be shameful to kill Odin's son in his sleep. He swung his massive sword in an arc that should have been impossible to dodge, but Naruto moved with newfound speed. The blade missed him by inches, cleaving through concrete pillars behind him like they were made of paper. Naruto countered, slamming his supercharged Rasengan into Heimdall's breastplate. The golden armor cracked, and Heimdall staggered back, genuine surprise on his face. Impressive. You don't even know what you are, yet you wield the storm. Heimdall straightened, his cracked armor mysteriously repairing itself. But you are untrained, godling. A mere shadow of what you could be. Naruto didn't waste breath on a response. He created more shadow clones, each forming their own crackling Rasengan. They attacked from all sides, but Heimdall moved like water, his sword becoming a golden blur. Clones popped out of existence one after another. One clone got close enough to land a hit, but Heimdall caught him by the throat. Interesting technique. Your father employs similar tricks. He crushed the clone's windpipe, dispelling it. The real Naruto felt something snap inside him. Rage, pure and electric, coursed through his veins. The sky above darkened in response, clouds swirling unnaturally fast. The hair on his arms stood up as static electricity filled the air. I don't have a father, Naruto growled, and lightning struck. Not from his hands, from the sky itself. A bolt of blue-white electricity crashed down directly onto Heimdall. The giant raised his sword just in time to catch the brunt of the attack, but the force still drove him to his knees. Naruto stared at his hands in shock. He hadn't done that, couldn't have done that. No jutsu he knew could command lightning from a clear sky. Heimdall rose, his armor smoking but intact. So the rumors are true. Odin's blood runs strong in you. He sheathed his sword. The All-Father must be informed. I'm not finished with you. Naruto charged, but Heimdall raised a hand. But I am finished with you, godling. For now. He lifted his face to the sky. Heimdall calls for passage. The air split open above them, and that same rainbow light from before speared down. Naruto leapt to stop him, but another warrior appeared from nowhere, tackling him mid-jump. You're coming with us, Prince, the new warrior said, a woman with braided red hair and armor that seemed to be made of silver scales. Naruto broke her hold and flipped away. I'm not going anywhere with you psychos. 3 more warriors materialized around him, each wearing similar armor but wielding different weapons. They moved with perfect coordination, herding him toward the beam of light. The All-Father commands it, said one, a man with a beard down to his chest. The sun must return to Asgard. I don't know what Asgard is, Naruto shot back, but I'm staying right here. He formed hand signs for a massive jutsu, but before he could complete it, Heimdall appeared behind him with impossible speed. Your choice has been revoked, the golden-eyed giant said, pressing something cold and metal against Naruto's neck. The Bifrost takes us home. The rainbow light engulfed them, and Naruto felt his body dissolve into pure energy. Konoha, the battle, the ruined tower, all vanished in a blaze of prismatic light. His last thought before consciousness fled was that he needed to get back to his friends. When Naruto opened his eyes, he wasn't in Konoha anymore. He lay on a floor made of something like glass but stronger than steel. Beneath it, stars and nebulae swirled in the blackness of space. The ceiling arched hundreds of feet overhead, a dome of gold inscribed with symbols he'd never seen before. He wakes, said a voice like stone grinding against stone. Naruto jumped to his feet, instantly alert. The movement should have made his head spin after whatever had happened to him, but he felt fine, better than fine. Energy hummed through his body like he'd just taken a soldier pill. Heimdall stood at the center of the circular room, his golden eyes fixed on Naruto. The warriors who had helped capture him were nowhere to be seen. Where am I? Naruto demanded. What did you do to my village? You stand in the observatory of the Bifrost, the rainbow bridge that connects the 9 realms, Heimdall said as if that explained everything. As for your village, it still stands. My warriors withdrew once I secured you. Send me back. Now. Heimdall's expression didn't change. I cannot. The All-Father awaits his son. Naruto balled his fists. I'm not his son. My father was the fourth Hokage, and he died protecting the village from the Nine-Tails. Is that the story they told you? Heimdall almost sounded amused. Mortals and their little fictions. Rage bubbled up inside Naruto again. The air around him began to crackle with electricity. I'm warning you, peace, godling. Heimdall raised a placating hand. It is not my place to explain your heritage. The All-Father will reveal all. Before Naruto could argue further, the massive doors at the far end of the observatory swung open. A procession entered, led by the most imposing figure Naruto had ever seen. He was tall, though not as tall as Heimdall, wrapped in ornate armor and a crimson cloak. A patch covered one eye, while the other gleamed with ancient intelligence. His beard was gray and neatly trimmed, and he carried a spear that seemed to bend light around it. Behind him walked a woman whose beauty made Naruto's breath catch. Her golden hair flowed to her waist, and her armor hugged curves that would make Jiraiya pass out from a nosebleed. She assessed Naruto with cool blue eyes. Flanking them were more warriors in various styles of armor, and behind those, servants carrying banners with strange symbols. The procession stopped 20 paces from Naruto. The one-eyed man stepped forward, his gaze never leaving Naruto's face. So, he said, his voice like distant thunder, my son returns to Asgard at last. Naruto's mouth went dry. I'm not your son. No. The man's single eye narrowed. Tell me, boy, who sent the lightning when you fought Heimdall? What power awoke in your blood when you were threatened? Not the fox demon you carry, surely. Naruto froze. How did this stranger know about Kurama? I am Odin, All-Father, ruler of Asgard and protector of the 9 realms, the man continued. And you, Naruto Uzumaki, are my blood. He gestured to the beautiful woman beside him. Frigga, my queen and your stepmother. Frigga inclined her head slightly, her expression unreadable. This is insane, Naruto said, backing away. I don't know who you people are or what you want from me, but I'm going home. You are home, Odin said. This is your birthright. Asgard. The realm eternal. A tall, muscular man with a red beard pushed to the front of the procession. Father, is this truly necessary? The mortal clearly has no knowledge of our ways. Look at him, he dresses like a peasant and speaks with no respect. Silence, Thor, Odin said without looking at him. Your brother has much to learn, but he carries my blood. The prophecy speaks true, in the twilight of my reign, another sun shall rise. Naruto's head spun. Brother? Prophecy? This couldn't be happening. Prove it, he said suddenly. Prove you're my father. Odin smiled for the first time, a grim curving of his lips. Very well. He looked to Heimdall. The gateway, if you would. Heimdall nodded and twisted his sword in some kind of mechanism at the center of the observatory. The glass floor beneath them shifted, patterns of light racing across its surface. A section of the floor rose up, forming a pedestal with a shallow basin on top. Odin approached and held his hand over the basin. He pricked his palm with a small knife one of the servants provided, letting a few drops of his blood fall into the basin. Come, he commanded Naruto. Add your blood to mine. And why would I do that? To see the truth, Odin replied simply. Naruto hesitated. This could be a trap, some kind of blood ritual to control him. But his curiosity burned stronger than his suspicion. If there was even a chance. He approached the basin and took the knife from Odin. He nicked his thumb, the way he did when summoning toads, and let blood drip into the basin to mix with Odin's. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the combined blood began to glow, changing from red to gold. It rose up out of the basin, defying gravity, forming shapes in the air, double helices that matched perfectly, glowing symbols that burned themselves into Naruto's mind. Blood calls to blood, Heimdall intoned. The pattern does not lie. Naruto stared as the golden bloodlight showed him visions, Odin, younger and with both eyes, meeting a beautiful woman with red hair in what looked like the forests outside Konoha. The woman was unmistakably Kushina Uzumaki. The visions showed them together, fighting side by side against what looked like frost giants, then intimate moments that made Naruto blush and look away. The final vision showed Kushina, pregnant, arguing with Odin. Though no sound accompanied the vision, Naruto could read the fury and heartbreak on his mother's face as Odin turned away from her, disappearing in a flash of light. The bloodlight faded, sinking back into the basin and vanishing. Naruto stared at Odin, emotions warring inside him. You abandoned her. My mother. Odin's expression hardened. I had duties to Asgard that superseded all else. The 9 realms stood on the brink of war. That's your excuse. Naruto felt Kurama stirring inside him, responding to his anger. You left her to face the 9 tails alone. I did not know of the attack until it was too late, Odin said, his voice lowering dangerously. Heimdall saw it only when the barriers around your village fell. By then, your mother had already used her special chakra to seal the beast within you. And you didn't come for me afterward. You just left me alone. I sent guardians, Odin countered. The one you called the 3rd Hokage knew of your heritage. Why do you think you were protected despite the village's hatred of the fox? Naruto's mind reeled. Had the old man known all along? Had his whole life been shaped by this secret? I don't believe you, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. Belief is unnecessary in the face of truth, Odin replied. He extended his hand. Come. There is much you must learn if you are to take your place among the gods. I'm not going anywhere with you, Naruto said. Send me back to Konoha. My friends need me. Thor laughed. The mortal refuse is Asgard. Perhaps he's not your son after all, father. Odin silenced Thor with a look before addressing Naruto again. Your village is safe for now. But greater dangers approach, dangers that threaten both your world and mine. His eye fixed on Naruto with uncomfortable intensity. Ragnarok stirs, and the prophecy speaks of you. What prophecy? When the twilight falls on gods and men, a child of 2 realms shall wield the spear, Frigga spoke for the first time, her voice melodic yet powerful. This was foretold at your birth, Naruto Odinson. My name is Uzumaki, Naruto corrected automatically. You bear your mother's name, yes, Odin agreed, but my blood runs in your veins. The storm answers your call. The lightning obeys your rage. These are not shinobi powers, my son. As if to emphasize his point, tiny arcs of electricity danced between Naruto's fingers. He hadn't summoned them consciously. I still want to go home, Naruto insisted. And you shall, Odin said, surprising him. But first, you must learn what you are. One day in Asgard. That is all I ask. If you still wish to return to Midgard after, Heimdall will send you back. Naruto weighed his options. He was clearly outnumbered here, and he still didn't understand his own newfound powers. If Konoha was truly safe for now. One day, he agreed reluctantly. Then I'm gone. Odin nodded, satisfaction in his gaze. Heimdall, you have done well. You are forgiven your excessive methods. The golden-eyed guardian bowed his head. The All-Father is merciful. Thor, Odin continued, show your brother to the guest quarters in the East Wing. See that he is properly attired for tonight's feast. Thor looked like he'd swallowed something sour, but he nodded stiffly. Come, brother, he said with obvious effort. Asgard awaits. As they left the observatory, Naruto got his first real look at the realm his supposed father ruled. They stood on a bridge that gleamed with all the colors of the rainbow, stretching over an abyss that seemed to contain stars and nebulae. At the far end rose a city that put even the grandest hidden villages to shame. Golden spires reached impossibly high into a sky filled with multiple moons and strange constellations. Waterfalls cascaded from floating islands, and ships that looked like Viking longboats sailed through the air. Light reflecting off the golden buildings bathed everything in a perpetual sunset glow. This is Asgard. Naruto couldn't keep the awe from his voice. The realm eternal, Thor confirmed, a hint of pride breaking through his resentment. Home of the Aesir and greatest of the 9 realms. And what's Midgard? Your Earth. A realm under Asgard's protection. Thor gave him a sidelong glance as they walked across the Rainbow Bridge. Though we have not interfered directly for centuries. Your kind forgot us, created new gods or abandoned faith altogether. We never needed gods, Naruto said. We have shinobi. Thor laughed, a booming sound. And yet here you are, a shinobi with the blood of gods. His amusement faded. Father has spoken of you. The prophecy has consumed his thoughts these past years. What exactly does this prophecy say? That is not for me to explain, Thor said, echoing Heimdall. The All-Father will reveal what you need to know. They reached the end of the Rainbow Bridge and entered the city proper. Asgardians stopped and stared as they passed. Many bowed to Thor, but their gazes lingered on Naruto, curiosity and suspicion mingling in their expressions. Why does everyone keep looking at me like that? Naruto asked. Word travels fast in Asgard. They know who you claim to be. I'm not claiming anything. Your father's the one saying I'm his son. Thor stopped walking and faced Naruto fully. Up close, he was even more imposing, tall and muscular, with eyes that sparked like lightning. Listen well, mortal. Odin All-Father does not lie about such matters. If he says you are his blood, then you are. His hand strayed to the massive hammer hanging at his belt. But know this, I am the firstborn, heir to the throne of Asgard. Whatever prophecy speaks of you, it does not change the line of succession. Naruto raised his hands. Whoa, easy there. I don't want your throne. I just want to figure out what's happening to me and get back to my village. Thor studied him for a long moment before nodding. Perhaps you speak truly. We shall see. He resumed walking. The feast tonight is in your honor. The warriors of Asgard will want to test your mettle. Test my what now? Your strength. Your courage. Thor grinned suddenly, and it transformed his face from intimidating to boyish. It is how we welcome newcomers to Asgard. Through glorious combat. Naruto groaned. Great. More fighting. They approached the massive palace at the city's center, a structure that dwarfed even the Hokage Tower. Guards in golden armor stood at attention as they passed, eyeing Naruto with the same mixture of curiosity and wariness. The interior of the palace was even more impressive than the outside. Ceilings soared hundreds of feet overhead, supported by columns carved with scenes of epic battles. The floors were polished stone inlaid with precious metals that formed intricate patterns. Tapestries larger than Naruto's entire apartment depicted gods and giants and creatures he couldn't begin to identify. Thor led him through a series of corridors and up several grand staircases, finally stopping before an ornate door guarded by 2 warriors. These are your quarters, Thor said. Servants will bring appropriate clothing for the feast. I suggest you rest. The night will be demanding. With that ominous warning, Thor left him. The guards opened the doors, revealing a suite larger than the entire Hokage residence. Naruto stepped inside, and the doors closed behind him. The room contained a massive 4-poster bed, several seating areas, a balcony overlooking the city, and doors leading to what he assumed were additional rooms. The walls were adorned with weapons and shields, and a fire crackled in a hearth big enough to roast an ox. What the hell have I gotten myself into? Naruto muttered. A familiar presence stirred within him. Interesting turn of events, brat, Kurama's voice rumbled in his mind. You've been quiet, Naruto thought back. What do you make of all this? I've been observing, the fox replied. These beings, they're not like humans. Their power feels ancient, primordial. Like the sage of 6 paths, but different. Do you think Odin is really my father? The blood does not lie. I sense the connection when your blood mixed with his. There is something of him in you, something that's been dormant until now. Naruto flopped down on the bed, which was soft as a cloud. Why is this happening now? Why did they come for me after all this time? The old one I mentioned, Ragnarok. In the ancient times, before nations and hidden villages, there were stories of a final battle that would end the world. The death of gods. And I'm supposed to be involved somehow. Because of some prophecy. Prophecies have a way of finding those they speak of, Kurama said cryptically. The question is whether you'll play the role they've written for you or forge your own path. Before Naruto could respond, a knock came at the door. When he called for them to enter, a group of servants filed in, carrying stacks of clothing, armor, and a basin of steaming water. The All-Father bids you prepare for the feast, my lord, said the lead servant, a young woman who kept her eyes lowered. We are here to assist you. That won't be necessary, Naruto said quickly. I can dress myself. The servants looked confused but bowed and left the clothing on a nearby table before departing. Naruto examined what they'd brought, leggings of some soft, leather-like material, a tunic of deep orange with gold embroidery, a sleeveless jacket of heavier material in black, and boots that laced up to mid-calf. There was also a circlet of gold designed to rest on his brow, but Naruto set that aside immediately. No way was he wearing a crown. He bathed quickly in the basin they'd provided, surprised at how good the hot water felt. He hadn't realized how tense his muscles were until they began to relax. As he dried off, he caught sight of himself in a full-length mirror. And froze. His whisker marks had deepened, looking more like actual stripes than the faint lines he was used to. His eyes, normally blue, now had flecks of gold in them that seemed to catch the light and throw it back. And his hair, it seemed lighter, more gold than yellow, with an odd luminosity to it. The awakening continues, Kurama commented. Your divine blood stirs. I don't want to be a god, Naruto murmured. I just want to be Hokage. Perhaps you can be both, the fox suggested. Or neither. The choice may yet be yours. Naruto dressed in the clothing they'd provided, surprised at how well it fit. The material was unlike anything in Konoha, lighter than it looked, but somehow he could tell it would offer good protection. The orange and black color scheme felt like a nod to his usual outfit, making him wonder if Odin had specified it. Once dressed, he wandered to the balcony and gazed out at Asgard. The city glittered in the eternal twilight, active despite what must be evening hours. He could hear music and laughter from somewhere below, and the distant sounds of training, metal against metal, shouts of exertion. It reminded him, painfully, of Konoha. His friends would be worried. Kakashi, Sakura, the rest of the Konoha 11. Did they think he was dead? Captured? He needed to get back as soon as possible. But first, he had a feast to attend and, apparently, warriors to fight. If that was what it took to get answers and return home, then so be it. A new knock at his door announced Thor's return. The thunder god had changed into more formal attire, armor polished to a mirror shine, a red cape flowing from his shoulders, and his golden hair pulled back with silver clips. It is time, Thor said. The feast begins. Naruto took a deep breath and followed him out. The corridors were busier now, filled with Asgardians in their finery heading toward what must be the Great Hall. Many nodded respectfully to Thor, who acknowledged them with regal nods of his own. So, what's the deal with this feast? Naruto asked as they walked. You mentioned fighting. The feast of welcome is tradition, Thor explained. Food, drink, tales of great deeds, and yes, combat. Nothing to the death, he added, seeing Naruto's expression. Unless you wish it so. I definitely don't wish it so. Thor laughed. Peace, brother. I jest. Mostly. He clapped Naruto on the shoulder hard enough to stagger him. Tonight is for you to meet the warriors of Asgard and prove yourself worthy of their respect. And if I don't care about their respect? Thor's smile faded. Then you will find your time in Asgard uncomfortable. We value strength here, Naruto of Midgard. Show weakness, and you will be devoured. With that cheery thought, they arrived at a set of enormous doors, easily 30 feet high and carved with scenes of battle. Thor nodded to the guards, who pushed the doors open with surprising ease. Beyond lay the largest hall Naruto had ever seen. Hundreds of long tables filled the space, each crowded with Asgardians drinking from massive tankards and feasting on mountains of food. Fires burned in hearths spaced along the walls, and thousands of candles in chandeliers overhead cast a warm glow. At the far end, on a raised dais, sat a high table where Odin and Frigga already presided. The hall fell silent as Thor and Naruto entered. All eyes turned to them, or rather, to Naruto. Asgardians. Thor's voice boomed across the hall. I present to you Naruto Uzumaki, son of Odin Allfather and Kushina of Midgard. Murmurs swept through the crowd. Some faces showed curiosity, others skepticism, and a few outright hostility. Thor led Naruto through the center aisle toward the high table. As they walked, Naruto felt the weight of 1,000 gazes on him, judging, assessing. He straightened his spine and lifted his chin, refusing to be intimidated. He'd faced worse than judgmental stares. At the high table, Odin stood. Silence fell instantly. My son returns to us, the All-Father declared, his voice carrying effortlessly to every corner of the vast hall. After 18 years among the mortals of Midgard, Naruto Odinson takes his rightful place among the Aesir. I didn't agree to that name, Naruto muttered, but Thor hushed him. Tonight we feast in his honor, Odin continued. Let there be merriment, tales of valor, and contests of strength. He raised a goblet. To Naruto Odinson, whose coming was foretold. Tio Naruto, the hall roared, though Naruto noticed not everyone joined in the toast. Thor guided him to a seat at the high table, to Odin's left. Thor himself sat on Odin's right, with Frigga beside him. Other figures Naruto didn't recognize occupied the remaining seats. Eat, Thor encouraged as servants piled Naruto's plate high with roasted meats, bread, and fruits he didn't recognize. The challenges come later. Naruto picked at the food, his appetite diminished by the strangeness of his situation. The meat was rich and perfectly cooked, the bread hearty, and the fruits sweeter than anything he'd tasted before, but it all seemed to turn to ash in his mouth. You do not eat, Odin observed. Does Asgardian fare not please you? The food's fine, Naruto said. I'm just not hungry. You will need your strength, Odin warned. The warriors of Asgard will test you severely tonight. Why? What's the point of all this? To prove your worth, Odin said simply. You carry my blood, but that alone does not make you Aesir. You must demonstrate the qualities we value, strength, courage, cunning. And if I don't care about being Aesir? Odin's single eye narrowed. Then you reject your heritage and the power that comes with it. Is that truly what you wish? Naruto thought of the lightning he'd called without meaning to, the strange energy coursing through his veins. Like it or not, something had awakened in him that he didn't understand. And Kurama was right, he needed to understand it if he was going to control it. Fine, he conceded. I'll play along. For now. Odin nodded, satisfied. Good. Eat. Drink. The night is young. The feast continued around them. Asgardians drank prodigious amounts of mead and ale, becoming louder and more boisterous as the evening progressed. Servants constantly replenished the tables with fresh food and drink. Bards played and sang tales of ancient battles, many featuring Odin or Thor. After what seemed like hours, Odin stood again. The hall quieted immediately. "The time has come," he announced. "Who among you will test the mettle of my son?" A huge warrior with a wild red beard stood from one of the nearest tables. "I, Volstagg the Valiant, would have the honor, All-Father." Odin nodded. "Approach, Volstagg." The massive warrior, easily twice Naruto's width, lumbered up to the high table and bowed. "What test shall it be, my king? Swords? Axes? Wrestling?" Before Odin could answer, Naruto spoke up. "How about a test of speed and agility?" Volstagg looked taken aback, then laughed. "The young prince fears my strength, it seems." "No," Naruto said, rising from his seat. "I just don't want to embarrass you too badly on our first meeting." A chorus of oaths rose from the crowd. Volstagg's face reddened, but he laughed again, good-naturedly. "Bold words. Very well, speed and agility it shall be." He looked to Odin. "With your permission, All-Father." Odin gestured to the center of the hall, where tables were already being cleared to create an open space. "Proceed." Naruto followed Volstagg down from the dais to the cleared area. Asgardians gathered around, forming a circle to watch. "The test is simple," Volstagg announced. "First to land 3 solid hits wins. No weapons." He looked at Naruto. "Unless the prince requires special accommodation." "Nope," Naruto said, rolling his shoulders. "I'm good." Volstagg nodded and took a fighter's stance, surprisingly light on his feet for someone his size. "Begin when ready, young prince." Naruto didn't wait. He darted forward, faster than most eyes could follow, and tapped Volstagg on the shoulder before dancing away. "One," he called out. Volstagg blinked, then grinned. Quick indeed. He lunged with surprising speed, but Naruto was already gone, sliding between the big man's legs and popping up behind him to tap his back. 2, Naruto counted. The crowd murmured, impressed. Volstagg turned, his expression more serious now. He began to circle, watching Naruto carefully. "The All-Father said you were raised among warriors." "I see he spoke truly." Naruto shrugged. "Shinobi learn to be fast or die young." Volstagg nodded, then suddenly feinted left before diving right, almost catching Naruto. Almost. Naruto flipped over him, tapping the top of his head on the way. 3. I win. Silence fell over the hall, then Volstagg threw back his head and laughed. "Well fought, young prince. Your speed is unmatched." The crowd cheered, more enthusiastically now. Naruto had won his first test. Volstagg bowed to him, then to Odin, before returning to his seat. Immediately, another warrior stood. I, Fandral the Dashing, would test the prince's swordsmanship. And so it went. Warrior after warrior challenged Naruto, each test different from the last. Swordsmanship against Fandral, which Naruto barely won, having only basic kenjutsu training. Archery against a woman named Sif, which Naruto lost, having never used a bow in his life. Wrestling against a stone-faced man called Hogan, another loss, though Naruto made him work for it. Through it all, Naruto felt that strange energy humming through his veins. His stamina, always impressive thanks to Kurama, seemed bottomless. Cuts and bruises healed almost instantly. And occasionally, when his emotions ran high, small arcs of electricity would dance across his skin. Finally, after what must have been his 10th or 12th challenge, Odin raised his hand. "Enough. My son has proven his worth this night." The crowd cheered, now fully won over by Naruto's performance. Even those who had looked hostile earlier seemed to view him with new respect. Naruto returned to the high table, sweaty but largely unharmed. Thor clapped him on the back. "Well fought, brother. You bring no shame to our father's name." "Thanks, I think," Naruto muttered, gulping down water from a goblet. Odin studied him with that piercing single eye. You fought well. The shinobi of Midgard trained you effectively in some ways. But there is much you have yet to learn. Like what? Like the power that is your birthright. Odin stood. Come. There is something I must show you. Curious despite himself, Naruto followed Odin from the hall. Thor made to join them, but Odin waved him back. This is for your brother alone. Thor looked unhappy but obeyed, returning to the feast. Odin led Naruto through corridors he hadn't seen before, deeper into the palace. They descended several long staircases, the surroundings growing older, more primal. The polished stone gave way to rough-hewn rock, and the golden ornamentation was replaced by ancient runes carved directly into the walls. Where are we going? Naruto asked as they descended yet another staircase. To the heart of Asgard, Odin replied cryptically. To the source of our power. They entered a vast cavern, illuminated by a strange, pulsing blue light. At its center stood a massive tree, or rather, what appeared to be part of a tree. Its trunk was wider than the Hokage Tower, but instead of rising upward, it seemed to pass through the floor and ceiling of the cavern, as if they were seeing just a small section of something incomprehensibly large. The blue light emanated from the tree itself, pulsing like a heartbeat. As Naruto watched, branches seemed to appear and disappear, shifting and changing as if they existed in multiple realities at once. This is Yggdrasil, Odin said reverently. The world tree. Its roots and branches connect the 9 realms. Naruto approached cautiously, drawn by an inexplicable feeling of familiarity. It's alive. More than alive. It is life itself. Odin gestured, and an image appeared in the air between them, 9 worlds connected by the branches of an immense tree. Asgard, Midgard, Jotunheim, Vanaheim, Alfheim, Svartalfheim, Niflheim, Muspelheim, Helheim. All sustained by Yggdrasil's power. Naruto reached out toward the trunk. As his fingers neared the bark, energy arced between them, like the lightning he had called before but blue and cold. It recognizes you, Odin said with satisfaction. The blood of Asgard. Naruto pulled his hand back. What does this have to do with me? Everything. Odin's expression grew grave. Yggdrasil weakens. The 9 realms fall out of alignment. Ragnarok, the doom of the gods, approaches. And you think I can stop it? Not stop. Nothing can stop what has been foretold. Odin placed a heavy hand on Naruto's shoulder. But you who bridge 2 worlds, 2 kinds of power, you might ensure something survives. Naruto stepped back, shaking his head. This is crazy. I'm a shinobi from Konoha. I've got the 9 tails sealed inside me. That's weird enough without adding, whatever this is. The 9 tails, Odin mused. Yes, the beast of chakra. Another kind of power altogether, from when the world tree's fruit fell to Midgard ages ago. He fixed Naruto with his single eye. Did you never wonder why you, among all mortals, could contain such a being? Why your body did not reject it, as so many others did? Because of the 4th Hokage's seal, the seal is masterful, yes. But it works because your blood, my blood, can channel such power. The blood of gods flows in your veins, Naruto. It is why you heal so quickly, why you never tire, why lightning answers your call without your conscious thought. Naruto's mind raced. It made a terrible kind of sense. His stamina had always been off the charts, even accounting for Kurama. His healing factor was legendary. And now this new power. What exactly do you want from me? He asked quietly. I want you to claim your birthright, Odin said. To learn to use the power that is yours. To stand with Asgard when Ragnarok comes. And my home. My friends. They too will face Ragnarok, though they know it not. Odin's expression softened slightly. I do not ask you to abandon Midgard, my son. Indeed, it is your connection to that realm that makes you uniquely valuable in what is to come. Naruto stared at the world tree, watching its branches shift and flicker. Something about it pulled at him, like a half-remembered dream. I need time to think, he said finally. Time is the one thing we lack, Odin replied. But I will grant you what I can. Return to Midgard if you must. Settle your affairs. But know that Asgard will call upon you again, and soon. He gestured, and the cavern began to fade around them, replaced by the familiar walls of the palace. Rest now, Odin said as they found themselves back in the corridor. Outside Naruto's quarters. Tomorrow, Heimdall will return you to Midgard, as promised. Naruto nodded, exhaustion suddenly overwhelming him. One more question. The shinobi who raised me, did they know? About you, about what I am? Some suspected, Odin admitted. The third Hokage knew portions of the truth. He gave his word to watch over you until the time came for you to learn your heritage. And my mother? Did she hate you? For leaving? A shadow passed over Odin's face. Kushina Uzumaki was a remarkable woman. Fierce as any Valkyrie, stubborn as any Asgardian. She understood duty, even as she resented it. His eye grew distant. She did not hate me, I think. But she would not bend her life to mine, nor should she have. Naruto nodded, strangely comforted by that answer. It aligned with everything he'd learned about his mother, strong-willed, independent, uncompromising. Good night. Father, he said, testing the word. Odin's eye widened slightly, and something like surprise crossed his face before it settled back into its usual impassive mask. Good night, my son. Naruto entered his quarters and collapsed onto the bed without bothering to undress. His mind spun with everything he'd learned, everything he'd seen. Odin, Asgard, divine blood, Ragnarok, it was too much to process. What will you do, Kit? Kurama asked, stirring within him. Return to Konoha and pretend none of this happened? Could I even do that? Naruto wondered aloud. This power inside me, it's awakened now. I can feel it. It's always been there, Kurama corrected. Dormant, but present. I sensed something different about your chakra from the beginning. Now I understand why. I need to go back, Naruto said firmly. Konoha is my home. My friends are there. Whatever this Ragnarok thing is, whatever Odin wants from me, it can wait until I make sure everyone is safe. And then? Naruto stared at the ceiling, watching shadows dance across it from the dying fire. Then I guess I figure out what it means to be both a shinobi of the leaf and the son of Odin. He closed his eyes, sleep claiming him almost instantly. His dreams were strange, filled with a massive tree whose branches stretched across worlds, lightning that danced to his command, and a woman with golden hair who called to him across a void. Morning came too soon. Naruto woke to sunlight streaming through windows that definitely weren't his apartments and the distant sounds of a city that wasn't Konoha. For a moment, he hoped it had all been a dream. But the unfamiliar bed, the ornate chamber, and the lingering sensation of power humming beneath his skin told him otherwise. A knock at the door preceded the entrance of servants bearing breakfast and fresh clothing. This outfit was more practical, leathers and cloth in shades of orange, black, and silver, with light armor pieces that wouldn't restrict movement. The All-Father requests your presence in the throne room when you are ready, my lord, said one servant with a bow. Prince Thor will escort you. Naruto nodded and thanked them. Once alone, he ate quickly and dressed in the new outfit, which fit perfectly. A part of him wondered if he should refuse the Asgardian clothing, insist on his orange jumpsuit and shinobi gear as a statement. But practicality won out, the Asgardian garments were clearly superior, both in comfort and protection. Thor arrived as promised, looking surprisingly somber. You returned to Midgard today, he said as they walked through the palace corridors. Yeah. I need to make sure my village is okay, let my friends know I'm alive. Thor nodded. A warrior's first duty is to those he has sworn to protect. He hesitated, then added, Father believes you will return to us when the time comes. And what do you believe? The thunder god studied him. I believe you are stubborn enough to be Odin's son, he said finally. Whether that stubbornness leads you back to Asgard or anchors you to Midgard remains to be seen. They reached the throne room, an enormous chamber dominated by a golden throne upon a dais. Odin sat there, Gungnir, his legendary spear, in hand. Frigga stood at his side, along with various courtiers and warriors. Approach, my son, Odin commanded. Naruto walked forward, conscious of the many eyes on him. He stopped at the base of the dais and looked up at the All-Father. You have chosen to return to Midgard, Odin stated. I have responsibilities there, Naruto replied. People who depend on me. Odin nodded. As it should be. A prince of Asgard does not abandon his duties. He stood, descending the steps until he stood before Naruto. But know this, the blood of Asgard flows in your veins. The power of the storm is yours to command. And when Ragnarok comes, as it surely will, Asgard will call upon its son. He placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder, and energy flowed between them, warm, electric, familiar. Until that day, take with you a token of your heritage. Odin gestured, and a servant approached bearing a small wooden box. The All-Father opened it to reveal a pendant on a leather cord, a small hammer crafted of silver and inscribed with runes. This is Mjolnir in miniature, Odin explained. Not the weapon itself, but a symbol of Thor's power and protection. Wear it, and Heimdall will always be able to find you, no matter where you go in the 9 realms. Naruto hesitated, then accepted the pendant. It felt warm in his palm, almost alive. Thank you. There is one more thing. Odin turned back to the throne and retrieved something that had been leaning against it, a staff or spear of some kind, wrapped in cloth. This was meant for your mother. A weapon worthy of a warrior of her caliber. He unwrapped it to reveal a spear similar to Gungnir but smaller, more suited to Naruto's height and build. Where Gungnir was golden, this spear was silver with swirls of blue energy visible beneath its surface. Stormbringer, Odin named it. Forged from the same URU metal as Mjolnir and Gungnir. It channels the storm, as you do. Naruto took the spear, surprised at how light it felt. The moment his fingers closed around it, blue lightning crackled along its length, responding to his touch. It knows you, Odin said with satisfaction. As Gungnir knows me. Naruto tested the spear's balance, giving it an experimental twirl. It moved as if it were an extension of his arm, perfectly weighted. I'm not really a spear fighter, he admitted. The weapon will teach you, Odin assured him. It is part of you now. Naruto nodded and bowed slightly. Thank you. Father. Something like pride flickered in Odin's eye. Go now to Midgard. Settle your affairs. When the time comes, Heimdall will bring you back to Asgard. And when will that be? Sooner than you hope, later than I wish. Odin clasped Naruto's forearm in a warrior's grip. May your path be clear and your arm strong, my son. With that, the audience was over. Thor led Naruto from the throne room, back toward the Bifrost. They walked in companionable silence until they reached the Rainbow Bridge. So, Thor said as they crossed the bridge, you return to your mortal life. For now, Naruto agreed. I need to make sure my friends are okay, explain what happened. And what will you tell them? That you are the son of Odin, a god among mortals. Naruto considered the question. The truth, I guess. As much of it as I understand myself. Thor nodded approvingly. Honesty suits you, brother. He glanced at Stormbringer. That spear. Father has never gifted such a weapon to a mortal before. He truly believes in your importance. Or he's manipulating me for his own purposes, Naruto said dryly. Thor laughed. You learn quickly. Yes, the All-Father always has his reasons, his plans within plans. But that does not mean his gifts are empty or his pride false. They reached the observatory where Heimdall waited, his golden eyes fixed on distant worlds. The mortal realm is in turmoil, Heimdall reported. Your village searches for you. Your friends organize rescue parties. Then I need to get back right away, Naruto said. How do we do this? Stand there, Heimdall directed, pointing to the center of the observatory. Think of where you wish to go. The Bifrost will do the rest. Naruto moved to the indicated spot, gripping Stormbringer tightly. Will this hurt? Only if you fight it, Heimdall said with what might have been the ghost of a smile. Thor stepped forward suddenly and clasped Naruto's shoulder. Until we meet again, brother. Try not to disgrace our father's name too badly in the meantime. Despite everything, Naruto found himself smiling. No promises. Thor stepped back, and Heimdall inserted his sword into the mechanism at the center of the observatory. Energy began to build, the rainbow light swirling around Naruto. Farewell, son of Odin, Heimdall intoned. The eyes of Asgard go with you. The rainbow light engulfed Naruto, and he felt his body dissolve once more into pure energy. The sensation was disorienting but not painful, as long as he didn't fight it. His last glimpse of Asgard was Thor's face, a mixture of skepticism and reluctant respect in his expression. Then everything vanished in a kaleidoscope of light and sound. Naruto focused on Konoha, on the Hokage monument, on his apartment. Home. The Bifrost responded, hurtling him across space toward Midgard. As he traveled between worlds, a single thought occupied his mind: how the hell was he going to explain all this to Tsunade? Chapter 2, The Goddess and the Maelstrom. The rainbow light didn't just drop Naruto off, it slammed him into the dirt right in the middle of the training grounds. A massive scorched circle, a Bifrost mark, now decorated the grass where he'd stood just a week ago. Naruto. He looked up, blinking away the prismatic spots in his eyes. Sakura stood there, a medical scroll half unrolled in her hands. Next to her, Kakashi had his book shut, both of them staring at his new getup. The leather armor, the silver-swirled spear, and the literal golden glow humming off his skin didn't exactly scream Leaf Genin. Hey guys, Naruto said, rubbing the back of his head. I can explain. Mostly. You were gone for 3 days, Sakura said, her voice trembling before she punched him straight into a tree. 3 days. We thought those gold-armored freaks had killed you or worse. Naruto didn't even feel the impact. The tree snapped, but his back didn't even itch. He stood up, dusting off his Asgardian leathers. 3 days. Felt like one. Time works weird up there. Kakashi's lone eye narrowed, focusing on the spear. That weapon, it feels like a storm-released jutsu condensed into metal. Naruto, who were those people? My family, apparently, Naruto sighed. Explaining that he was the son of a one-eyed Norse god went about as well as expected. Tsunade nearly bit through her desk when he showed her the spear, and the council was already calling for him to be put under 24-hour surveillance. But Naruto didn't have time for leaf politics. The air in the village was getting cold. Too cold. A frost was creeping over the land of fire that didn't belong in this season, and Naruto could feel a tugging in his chest, a literal pull toward the mountains. Something's coming, Naruto told them, gripping Stormbringer. And it's not from here. He didn't wait for permission. He followed the pull, leaping through the trees with a speed that made his old body flicker look like a crawl. He wasn't just using chakra anymore, he was riding the wind. He found the source in a hidden valley 3 miles north. The air was shimmering like a heat haze, but instead of heat, it was a rift of pure, jagged energy. And stepping through it wasn't a god, it was something uglier. A creature of ice and shadow, 10 feet tall, with a club made of frozen blood. Jotun, Naruto muttered, the name appearing in his mind like a remembered lesson. The frost giant roared, its breath freezing the trees solid. Naruto didn't hesitate. He spun Stormbringer, the silver metal screaming as lightning coated the blade. He launched himself, a human thunderbolt, and sheared through the giant's club and chest in one fluid motion. The creature shattered into ice, but the rift didn't close. Instead, a woman stepped through. She wasn't a giant. She wore a feathered cloak and intricately carved armor, 2 curved swords strapped to her hips. Her hair was a wild cascade of brown, and her eyes burned with a concentrated fury that made the frost giant look like a puppy. "You," she spat, her voice like grinding stones. "You smell of him." Naruto landed, his spear crackling. "If him is Odin, then yeah, I get that a lot lately." "Who are you?" "I am Freya," she said, drawing her blades. The ground around her feet suddenly erupted with thick, thorny vines. "And I have waited a long time to kill something Odin loves." "Whoa, lady. I just met the guy." Naruto held up a hand. "I'm not his fan club, okay? He basically kidnapped me." Freya didn't care. She moved like a blur of feathers and steel. Her swords clashed against Stormbringer, sending sparks flying. Naruto was shocked. She was faster than the Raikage, her movements fluid and lethal. "I don't care if you're his son or his slave." Freya hissed, her magic lashing out. The vines grabbed at Naruto's ankles, trying to drag him down. "He took my freedom. He cursed me to this realm. Every piece of Asgard must burn." Naruto flared his power. A massive dome of golden lightning exploded outward, vaporizing the vines. "I'm not from Asgard. I'm from the ramen shop down the street. Relax." He swung the butt of his spear, catching her in the ribs. She flipped backward, landing gracefully, but the earth beneath her feet started to moan. The rift behind her turned from blue to a sickly, burning orange. "Wait," Freya said, her anger suddenly replaced by sharp focus. She looked at the rift. "That's not my magic." The temperature in the valley shifted from freezing to a blistering, soul-searing heat. A pillar of fire erupted from the rift, and out stepped a warrior clad in blackened iron, his skin looking like cooled lava. He carried a blade that dripped liquid flame. "Muspelheim," Freya whispered, her swords trembling. "Surtur's kin. Why are they here?" The fire warrior didn't talk. He swung his blade, sending a wave of fire that turned the forest into an oven. Naruto reacted instinctively, slamming Stormbringer into the ground. A wall of wind and water, drawn from the very humidity in the air, rose up to block the heat. "Look," Naruto shouted over the roar of the flames. "We can kill each other later. This guy is going to burn my village." Freya looked at the fire warrior, then at Naruto. She saw the whisker marks, the confused but determined look in his eyes, and the way he held the spear, not like an Asgardian prince, but like a boy protecting his home. "Fine," she growled. "But if we survive, I'm still stabbing you." "Fair enough." Naruto charged. He didn't use clones, they just pop in this heat. He focused everything into the spear. He became a blur of silver and blue, dancing around the fire warrior's heavy swings. The creature was slow but incredibly durable. Every time Naruto cut it, the wound just leaked more lava. "He's a conduit." Freya yelled, her voice echoing with magical power. She was dancing through the flames, her feathered cloak protecting her. She gestured, and the trees, charred and dying, suddenly surged with new life, their roots wrapping around the fire warrior's legs. "Strike the core in his chest. It's the only way to break the tether." The fire warrior roared, incinerating the roots, but it gave Naruto the opening he needed. "Kurama. Give me a hand." "About time, Godling," the fox rumbled. Red chakra bled into the blue lightning of the spear. The energy turned a violent, swirling purple. Naruto leapt, the air screaming around him as he broke the sound barrier. Rasengan spear. He didn't throw it. He drove the point of Stormbringer directly into the glowing furnace of the warrior's chest. The collision created a shockwave that flattened every tree in a 100-yard radius. The fire warrior stiffened, the orange glow in its cracks turning to a blinding white before it exploded in a shower of sparks and ash. Naruto stood in the center of the crater, breathing hard. The rift hissed and sputtered before finally winking out of existence. Silence returned to the valley, save for the crackling of burning wood. Freya stood 10 feet away, her sword still drawn, watching him with a look of intense calculation. "You used the beast's power," she said. "And the All-Father's steel. A strange combination." "I'm a strange guy," Naruto said, resting the spear on his shoulder. He looked at her properly now. She looked tired. Beneath the warrior exterior, there was a deep, ancient sadness in her eyes. "You said Odin cursed you. What did he do?" Freya sheathed her blade slowly. "He married me to secure a peace he never intended to keep. He stole my magic, my wings, and bound me so I could never leave the realms he controls. I am a queen of nothing." "Sounds like a jerk move," Naruto said bluntly. "Look, I don't like him much either. He showed me some visions of my mom, told me I was a prince, and then expected me to start fighting his wars. That's not how I roll." Freya stepped closer, her eyes searching his. "You truly don't know, do you? Why the rifts are opening? Why the fire and ice are bleeding into this world? Ragnarok?" Naruto guessed. "The end of everything," Freya corrected. "But it's happening too fast. Someone is pulling the threads of fate, trying to force the hand of the Norns. If Muspelheim is invading Midgard, it means the barriers are failing. This world, your world, will be the first to burn." Naruto's jaw set. "Not if I can help it. You are one boy." "I'm a shinobi," Naruto said, a grin breaking through the soot on his face. "We specialize in doing the impossible. And hey, you're pretty good with those swords. You want to keep trying to kill me, or do you want to help me stop the world from ending?" Freya looked at the scorched earth, then back at the golden-haired boy who felt like a summer storm. She felt a spark of something she hadn't felt in centuries. Not hope, that was too dangerous, but curiosity. "The All-Father will be furious if I'm with you," she said. "Good," Naruto laughed. "He needs to learn he can't have everything his way." He held out a hand. Freya stared at it for a long beat before reaching out and gripping his forearm. Her skin was cool, smelling of forest rain and ancient spells. "Don't make me regret this, Naruto Odinson." "Just Naruto," he insisted. "Now, come on. I know a place that serves the best ramen in any realm. If the world's ending, we're doing it on a full stomach." As they walked back toward the village, the sky began to bleed a deep, ominous violet. The sun was setting, and for the first time in his life, Naruto realized it might never rise again if he didn't figure out how to be the god he was born to be. Chapter 3, Ragnarok Rising. The problem with trying to stop the apocalypse was that nobody seemed to know where to start. Naruto sat cross-legged on top of the Hokage monument, eyes closed, feeling the growing wrongness in the world. More rifts had opened in the past 3 days, 14 at last count. Tsunade had ANBU stationed at each one, but they were fighting a losing battle against the things crawling through. Freya paced behind him, her feathered cloak rustling in the pre-dawn air. She'd been a hard sell to the village elders. A Norse goddess with anger issues and an obvious dislike for Naruto's divine father wasn't exactly welcomed with open arms. But no one could deny her power when she single-handedly closed 3 rifts by weaving complex magic that even Kakashi couldn't copy. "This isn't working," she snapped. "Meditation won't fix broken realms." Naruto opened one eye. "I'm not meditating. I'm talking to Kurama about where these rifts are connecting. He can sense the different energy signatures. And he says they're all wrong. Like someone's deliberately tangling the branches of Yggdrasil." Naruto stood, stretching. The spear Stormbringer hummed at his back, always alive with energy now. "It's not random. Someone's doing this. Freya's eyes narrowed. Someone who wants Ragnarok now, not later. Got any suspects? Too many. She looked up at the sky, which had taken on a permanent bruised look. Odin has enemies in every realm. Most would gladly burn everything if it meant watching him fall. A shout from below interrupted them. Sakura was racing up the monument steps, her pink hair wild in the wind. New rift, she called. Big one. By the west gate. They didn't waste time with words. Naruto grabbed Freya around the waist, she'd stopped stabbing him for touching her after the second day, and leapt. The wind caught them, carrying them much farther than a normal jump should allow. They sailed over the village, people pointing up at the now familiar sight of their resident demigod and his grumpy goddess companion. The new rift was indeed big, a jagged tear in reality 30 feet tall. It swirled with sickly green energy, and the air around it smelled of salt and decay. Ocean realm, Freya muttered. This is Jormungandr's domain. As if on cue, something massive began pushing through the rift. Scales the size of dinner plates appeared first, followed by a serpentine head larger than a house. A single eye, yellow with a slitted pupil, blinked at them. Naruto raised Stormbringer, ready to attack, but Freya placed a hand on his arm. Wait, she said. This isn't hostility. This is curiosity. The giant serpent pushed more of itself through the rift until its head and about 20 feet of body rested in Konoha. It lowered its massive head, eye level with them. Son of Odin, it spoke, voice like waves crashing on rocks. You are smaller than I expected. Yeah, I get that a lot, Naruto said, relaxing slightly but keeping his spear ready. You're pretty much exactly as big as I'd expect a giant world serpent to be. The creature made a rumbling sound that might have been laughter. I am Jormungandr, it said. The Midgard serpent. I come with warning, not war. We're listening, Naruto said. The trickster stirs the pot, Jormungandr said. He pulls at threads not his to touch. The cycle accelerates. Ragnarok comes too soon, out of sequence. If it proceeds, nothing survives. Not Asgard, not Midgard, not even the void between. The trickster, Freya repeated, her face hardening. Loki. Who else? The serpent asked. Who else seeks chaos for its own sake? Who else would burn the tree to spite the gardener? Naruto frowned. Hang on. Loki is behind this? Why would he want to end everything? Ask him yourself, Jormungandr said, his massive eyes swiveling to look behind them. They turned to find a man standing there, perfectly at ease. He was tall and lean, with sharp features and eyes that glinted with mischief. His black hair was slicked back, and he wore green and black leather armor that seemed to shift and change as he moved. Now, spreading rumors is beneath you, dear Jormungandr, the man said, his voice smooth as silk. Although I suppose it's in your nature to hiss and spit venom. Loki, Freya spat, drawing her swords. The lovely Freya, Loki gave a mocking bow. Still holding a grudge, I see. And this must be Odin's newest project. His eyes raked over Naruto. The half-breed son. How quaint. Naruto didn't waste time on words. He moved, faster than most eyes could follow, Stormbringer aimed straight at Loki's heart. But his spear passed through the trickster like he was made of smoke. An illusion, Freya growled. Of course, Loki's voice came from everywhere and nowhere. I'm not foolish enough to face Odin's attack dog and the Witch Queen in person. Not yet. What do you want, Loki? Naruto demanded, scanning for the real threat. Want? I want what I've always wanted. Freedom. Chaos. A little fun before the end. Loki's laugh echoed. Ragnarok was always coming, little godling. I'm merely expediting the process. By destroying everything? Naruto snapped. By burning away the rot, Loki corrected. His voice hardened. Odin's age is ending. He grows weak, desperate. Why do you think he claimed you now, after all these years? He needs fresh blood, fresh power. Lies, Freya said, but she didn't sound convinced. Is it? Loki's voice was closer now, a whisper in their ears. Ask yourself why the All-Father suddenly remembers his mortal son. Ask yourself why Heimdall, who sees all, only found you when the signs of early Ragnarok appeared. The illusion solidified again, standing atop the village gate. You are a tool to Odin. Nothing more. A weapon to be wielded against the coming dark. He cares nothing for you, only for what you represent, a chance to survive what was meant to destroy him. Enough talk, Naruto growled. Lightning crackled along his arms, and he felt Kurama's power rising within him. Show yourself for real or get lost. As you wish, Loki smiled. But remember my words when Odin's true nature reveals itself. When the time comes, you'll need to choose a side. Choose wisely. The illusion faded like mist in sunlight, leaving them alone with Jormungandr, who had watched the exchange with ancient patience. He speaks poison, the serpent said. But even poison contains truth. What's he doing to cause the rifts? Naruto asked. The branches of Yggdrasil are being redirected. Bent toward each other where they should not touch. The great serpent shifted, scales scraping against stone. To fix this, one must go to the source. To Asgard itself. Back. To where this started, Naruto muttered. He looked at Freya. You up for a trip? Her face was tight with controlled fury. Asgard is the last place I wish to go. But if Loki tears apart the realms, my prison becomes my tomb. I will aid you, Jormungandr said, surprising them both. The son of Odin who smells of foxfire, you are different. Perhaps you are the variable the prophecies did not account for. Why would you help us? Freya asked suspiciously. Because chaos serves no one in the end, the serpent replied. Not even chaos bringers. He lowered his massive head. I can carry you through the rift ways. The paths between worlds are known to me. I can take you to Asgard's doorstep, though I cannot enter the realm eternal myself. Naruto looked at Freya. What do you think? I think we have no choice, she said grimly. But we're not going alone. She pointed at the growing crowd of shinobi who had gathered to watch the giant serpent casually chatting in their village. Your friends will insist on coming. She was right. Before Naruto could even turn around, Sakura pushed her way forward. Don't even think about leaving us behind, she said, cracking her knuckles. If the world's ending, we're not sitting it out. Behind her stood Kakashi, Shikamaru, and, surprisingly, Hinata, all geared up for battle. This isn't a shinobi mission, Naruto started to argue. No, Kakashi, I smiled. It's a save-the-world mission. Those are our specialty. Naruto looked at them, his precious people ready to follow him into literal Armageddon, and felt something swell in his chest. Maybe he was half god, but this was what made him strong. These bonds. All right, he grinned. But stick close. Norse gods play rough. How do we do this? Sakura asked, eyeing the massive serpent with professional interest. We ride, Freya said, stepping forward to place a hand on Jormungandra's scales. And pray we are not too late. Traveling through the riftways on the back of a cosmic serpent wasn't like using the Bifrost. There was no rainbow light, no sense of dissolving. Instead, it felt like diving deep underwater, pressure building until it seemed unbearable, then suddenly breaking through into another kind of space altogether. They moved through a place between places, a swirling maelstrom of energy and half-formed realities. Jormungandr navigated with confidence, his massive body creating a stable path through the chaos. The world tree is damaged here, the serpent's voice boomed in their minds rather than their ears. See how the branches bleed sap. This is Loki's doing. Naruto could see it, massive, ethereal branches that seemed to stretch into infinity, oozing golden light where they'd been cut or bent. The sight filled him with a strange, personal outrage. This was wrong on a fundamental level. How much farther? Hinata called, her Byakugan active. There's something following us. Jormungandr increased his pace. Hunters. Loki's pawns. We must hurry. The journey became a blur of motion and energy. Behind them, shadowy figures pursued, wolf-like shapes with burning eyes and teeth that seemed to glow in the darkness. There. Freya pointed ahead to a tear in the fabric of the riftway. Beyond it gleamed the golden spires of Asgard. The realm's edge. They burst through the rift onto a barren plain of rock and ice. Jormungandra's massive body barely fit through, scraping scales on the edges of reality itself. This is as far as I can go, the serpent said. Odin's wards prevent my entry. Jotunheim, Freya said, recognizing the frozen landscape. We're in the realm of the frost giants. Then we need to move fast, Naruto said, helping his friends down from the serpent's back. Before we freeze or get squashed. Jormungandra's yellow eye fixed on Naruto. Remember, young Stormbringer, prophecies are not commands, they are possibilities. What was written can be unwritten. With that cryptic message, the serpent retreated back into the rift, which sealed itself behind him. They stood alone on the frozen plain, the wind howling around them. In the distance loomed mountains of ice, and beyond them, barely visible, the golden glow of Asgard. So we're in giant territory, Shikamaru said, surveying the landscape. How troublesome. Very troublesome, agreed a deep voice behind them. They spun to find themselves surrounded by frost giants, at least 20 of them, standing 10 to 15 feet tall, with blue skin and eyes like chips of ice. They carried weapons of frozen iron and wore armor made from the bones of massive beasts. Midgardians in Jotunheim, rumbled one who appeared to be the leader. Trespassers die. We're just passing through, Naruto said, stepping forward. Stormbringer hummed in his grip, responding to the threat. We don't want trouble. The giant leader laughed, ice crystals forming in his breath. But trouble wants you, little Asgardian. He peered closer. Wait. I know your scent. Odinson. The golden whelp. Great, my reputation precedes me, Naruto muttered. Kill the Asgardian, the giant roared. Take the others as slaves. The giants charged, the ground shaking beneath their massive feet. Naruto's friends formed a defensive circle, ready for battle. Hinata, Sakura, left flank. Kakashi called, already forming hand signs. Shikamaru, with me. No, Naruto stepped in front of them all, planting Stormbringer in the ground. My divine mess, my divine fix. He closed his eyes, reaching deep into himself, past Kurama's power, past his chakra, to that new well of energy that had awakened since meeting Odin. The storm inside him. Thunder cracked overhead, though the sky had been clear moments before. Lightning arced down, striking Stormbringer's tip. Instead of grounding out, the energy spread through Naruto, turning his skin luminous. His hair rose, electricity dancing through it, and when he opened his eyes, they blazed with blue-white power. Enough. The word wasn't just spoken, it was a thunderclap that knocked the charging giants back several steps. The leader steadied himself, eyes widening. The storm voice. He commands it like the All-Father. I don't want to fight you, Naruto said, his voice resonating with power. We need to reach Asgard. Loki is manipulating the world tree, bringing Ragnarok too soon. If we don't stop him, Jotunheim freezes permanently. The giant leader hesitated, his icy gaze calculating. Loki? The trickster meddles again. He's forcing the prophecy, Freya stepped forward. Bringing the end before its time. The giants muttered among themselves, clearly troubled by this news. Why should we believe Odin's spawn, the leader demanded. Because I'm not just Odin's, Naruto said. The glow around him subsided, and he pulled Stormbringer from the ground. I was raised on Midgard. I don't care about Asgard's grudges or ancient wars. I just want to save my home. The giant studied him, then unexpectedly laughed, a sound like breaking ice. You are unlike other Asgardians, Storm Child. Very well. We will not kill you, today. Thanks. That's generous. More than that, the giant said. We will aid you. Loki has long manipulated our kind for his amusement. If he brings early Ragnarok, we too will perish. You'll help us get to Asgard? Sakura asked incredulously. We will take you to the hidden paths, the giant confirmed. The ways between worlds that even Heimdall's gaze cannot penetrate. Naruto grinned. See? Diplomacy works. Don't get cocky, Freya murmured. Frost giants are notoriously fickle allies. I heard that, Vanir Witch, the giant leader rumbled. And yes, we are. But today, our interests align. He gestured for them to follow. Come. The path is not far, but the way is treacherous. They followed the giants across the frozen plain toward a massive glacier. As they walked, Hinata activated her Byakugan again, scanning the area. Naruto-kun, she whispered, moving closer to him. There's something strange about these giants. Their chakra, or whatever energy they have, it's tied to this realm somehow. Like they're extensions of the land itself. Good. Observation, Freya said, overhearing. The Jotnar are bound to their realm in ways even they don't fully understand. It's why they've never been able to conquer the other realms permanently. They weaken when away from Jotunheim for too long. Knowledge of our weaknesses comes easily to Vanir tongues, the giant leader called back, his hearing evidently better than they'd expected. Just as deception comes easily to Jotun minds, Freya countered. We all remember our histories, Hrimthur. The giant, Hrimthur, laughed again. The witch remembers me. I am honored. You tried to steal my necklace once, Freya said dryly. It's difficult to forget someone who attempts to sever one's head. A misunderstanding, Hrimthur waved a massive hand dismissively. Ancient history. That was 70 years ago. As I said, ancient. They reached the base of the glacier, where a narrow fissure split the ice. It looked barely wide enough for a human to squeeze through, let alone a frost giant. Here lies the hidden path, Hrimthur said. It will take you directly to Asgard's underbelly, the forgotten caves beneath the realm eternal. And you? Naruto asked. You're not coming. We cannot enter Asgard without triggering ancient wards, the giant explained. But know this, Storm Child, if you succeed in stopping Loki, the frost giants of Hrimthur's clan will remember the debt. Naruto nodded, offering his arm in the warrior's grip he'd learned in Asgard. Hrimthur looked surprised, then laughed, engulfing Naruto's entire forearm in his massive hand. Perhaps not all of Odin's blood is tainted, the giant mused. Go now. The path knows the way. One by one, they squeezed into the fissure, which was even tighter than it appeared. Inside, the ice glowed with an eerie blue light. This is a branch of Yggdrasil, Freya explained as they navigated the narrow passage. A physical manifestation of one of its smaller offshoots. It connects the realms on a fundamental level. So we're basically crawling through a piece of the world tree? Sakura asked, fascinated despite the danger. In a manner of speaking, yes. The passage twisted and turned, sometimes so narrow they had to turn sideways to proceed. After what felt like hours of claustrophobic travel, the blue glow intensified. The temperature rose, the ice giving way to stone. We're close, Freya whispered. I can feel Asgard's energy. The passage suddenly opened into a vast cavern, the same one Odin had shown Naruto during his first visit. The heart of Asgard, where a section of Yggdrasil's trunk passed through the realm. But something was wrong. The tree segment, which had pulsed with healthy blue light before, now flickered sickly green and red. Dark veins spread across its surface like infection. "It's worse than I thought," Freya said, her voice hushed with horror. "Loki hasn't just been bending the branches, he's poisoning the trunk." Naruto approached the tree, drawn by an instinct he didn't fully understand. He placed his hand against the bark, and immediately pain shot through him, not physical pain, but something deeper, like his very essence was being damaged. "He's using the casket of ancient winters," Freya said, examining the tree closely. "Combined with something from Muspelheim, fire and ice together, to shock the system. Can we fix it?" Kakashi asked, keeping watch at the cavern entrance. "Not alone," Freya admitted. "This would require Odin's power, or his heir," came a booming voice from the shadows. They whirled around as Thor stepped into the light, Mjolnir in hand. His expression was grim, his armor battle-worn. "Brother," he acknowledged Naruto. "You come at a desperate hour." "Thor," Naruto tensed, raising Stormbringer defensively. "Are you here to stop us or help us?" "That depends," Thor's gaze moved to Freya and the shinobi. "Strange allies you've gathered. A banished Vanir witch and Midgardian warriors." "We're here to stop Loki," Naruto said. "He's forcing Ragnarok ahead of schedule." Thor's expression darkened. "I know. I've been tracking his movements for days. The trickster has gone too far this time." "And Odin?" Freya asked, her voice sharp. "What does the All-Father do while his adopted son tears apart the World Tree?" "Father." Thor hesitated. "Father is in the Odin sleep. His timing is suspect." "Convenient," Freya said bitterly. "Or deliberate," Thor admitted, surprising them. "I have begun to question many things, including the All-Father's methods." "So you'll help us?" Naruto asked. Thor stepped closer, studying his half-brother's face. "You've changed since we last met. The power grows in you." "Yeah, well, having your world nearly destroyed multiple times will do that." A smile tugged at Thor's beard. "Indeed." He looked at the damaged tree segment, his expression sobering. "Yes, I will help you. Loki must be stopped, regardless of complicated loyalties." "Where is he now?" Shikamaru asked, speaking up for the first time in a while. The shadow user had been observing everything with calculated interest. "The throne room," Thor said grimly. "With the casket and some artifact from Muspelheim. He's performing a ritual that's accelerating the decay of the World Tree. We have little time." "Then let's move," Naruto said, hefting Stormbringer. "How do we get there from here?" Thor pointed to a narrow staircase carved into the cavern wall. "That will take us to the palace underhalls. From there, we can reach the throne room." He looked at the shinobi. "Be warned, Loki is not alone. He has allies from various realms, drawn by promises of power in the new world he claims will rise from Ragnarok's ashes." "We can handle ourselves," Sakura said confidently, pulling on her combat gloves. Thor grinned, a fierce expression. "I believe you can, pink-haired warrior. Your strikes remind me of the Valkyries of old." They ascended the staircase quickly, Thor leading the way. The passage emerged in a seldom-used corridor of the palace, dimly lit and dusty. "The guards have been drawn away," Thor whispered as they moved through the halls. "Loki's doing, no doubt. He's created disturbances throughout Asgard to thin our defenses." As if to confirm his words, they heard shouts and the clash of weapons in the distance. "We're not alone," Hinata said, her Byakugan active. Multiple energy signatures approaching from the left corridor. They pressed against the wall just as a group of dark elves ran past, carrying strange, glowing weapons. "Svartalfheim joins the party," Freya muttered. "Loki has been busy making friends." They continued on, avoiding patrols where possible, dispatching them quickly and quietly when necessary. Naruto was impressed by how well his shinobi friends adapted to fighting these otherworldly enemies. Sakura's chakra-enhanced strength proved particularly effective against the armor of the Dark Elves, while Shikamaru's shadow binding confused and terrified them. They were nearing the throne room when the palace shook violently, dust and stone raining down from the ceiling. "The ritual progresses," Freya said, steadying herself against a column. "The world tree writhes in pain." "We're out of time," Thor growled. "No more stealth." He raised Mjolnir and charged forward, the others close behind. They burst through massive golden doors into Asgard's throne room, a cavernous space dominated by the golden throne on a raised dais. Before the throne stood Loki, his arms raised toward the ceiling. Above him floated two objects, a glowing blue cube that radiated bitter cold, and a flickering orb of pure fire. Between them stretched tendrils of green energy that Loki manipulated like a puppet master. "The convergence begins," Loki cried, his voice echoing with manic glee. "The 9 realms align ahead of schedule. The old order burns." Arrayed around him were a dozen warriors from various realms, dark elves, fire demons, even a couple of frost giants who had evidently not shared Hrimthur's perspective. "Loki!" Thor bellowed. "Stop this madness." The trickster god turned, a smile spreading across his face. "Ah, brother. Just in time to witness the dawn of a new age. And you've brought friends." His eyes fixed on Naruto. "Including Odin's last hope. How perfect." "This ends now," Naruto said, Stormbringer crackling with energy in his grip. "Whatever you're doing, it stops." "Oh, I think not," Loki grinned. "You see, we've passed the point of no return. The ritual is self-sustaining now. Ragnarok is coming, right on my schedule." As if to emphasize his point, the palace shook again, more violently this time. Through the massive windows, they could see the sky turning a sickly yellow-green, clouds spiraling unnaturally. "Attack!" Thor commanded, hurling Mjolnir at Loki's allies. The throne room erupted into chaos. Thor's hammer smashed through 2 dark elves before returning to his hand. Kakashi and Hinata engaged a group of fire demons, water jutsus hissing against their molten skin. Sakura and Shikamaru worked in tandem against the frost giants, shadow binding them so Sakura could deliver devastating blows. Freya moved like a deadly dancer, her twin swords a blur as she cut through enemies. Magic flowed from her fingers, roots and vines erupting from the palace floor to entangle her opponents. Naruto locked eyes with Loki. "You're mine." He charged, Stormbringer leading the way. Loki drew his own weapons, curved daggers that gleamed with poisonous energy, and met him in the center of the room. "The boy god thinks he can challenge me?" Loki laughed, parrying Naruto's thrust with impossible speed. "I was old when your mother was a twinkle in her grandmother's eye." "Talk less, fight more," Naruto growled, spinning the spear in a complex pattern that forced Loki to retreat. They clashed again and again, steel ringing against steel. Loki was impossibly fast and skilled, each movement precise and deadly. But Naruto had something the trickster didn't expect, the unpredictability of a shinobi combined with growing divine power. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto formed the hand sign, and suddenly 10 copies of him surrounded Loki, each wielding a crackling Stormbringer. "Interesting trick," Loki commented, not seeming particularly concerned. "But illusions don't work on the master of illusion." "They're not illusions," all the Narutos said in unison before attacking from every direction. Loki's eyes widened in genuine surprise as he was forced to defend against multiple solid attackers. He spun and slashed, taking out clone after clone, but each dispelled clone provided feedback to the original Naruto, helping him learn Loki's patterns. Meanwhile, the battle raged around them. Thor and the others were holding their own against Loki's allies, but the palace continued to shake with increasing violence. Outside, the unnatural storm intensified, lightning of various colors, green, blue, red, striking the city below. You can't win, Loki taunted, dispelling another clone. Even if you defeat me, the process is irreversible. The realms align. The barriers thin. Yggdrasil burns. The floating artifacts, the casket of ancient winters and the fire orb, pulsed more intensely, the energy between them forming a swirling portal above the throne. Naruto created more clones, pressing Loki harder. There's always a way to fix things. Such Midgardian naivety, Loki sneered, slashing through 3 clones in one fluid motion. Some things are meant to break. A massive tremor shook the palace, more violent than any before. Part of the ceiling collapsed, crushing allies and enemies alike. Through the gap, they could see the sky had turned blood red, with black lightning crawling across it like veins. Naruto! Freya shouted over the din, the artifacts. They're the anchor points. Destroy them and the ritual fails. Loki's eyes flashed with genuine alarm. Stay away from those, boy. Naruto redoubled his attack, forcing Loki back toward the throne. What's wrong, trickster? Afraid your plan has a weak point? Those artifacts are pure elemental power. Loki hissed, blocking a particularly vicious thrust. Touch them, and you'll be reduced to atoms. Good thing I don't need to touch them, Naruto grinned. Above them, one of his clones had managed to climb the ceiling debris and was now positioned directly over the floating artifacts. The clone formed a massive Rasengan, infused with both Kurama's chakra and divine lightning. No! Loki shouted, but it was too late. The clone dropped, driving the Rasengan between the 2 artifacts. The resulting explosion sent everyone flying. Naruto slammed into a column, his vision swimming. When he managed to focus again, he saw that the artifacts were still there, but damaged, their energies fluctuating wildly. Fool! Loki screamed, picking himself up from the floor. You've destabilized the convergence. You'll destroy Asgard before its time. The portal above the throne was expanding rapidly, its edges jagged and unstable. Through it, they could see glimpses of other realms, Jotunheim's icy wastes, Muspelheim's fiery landscape, and more, all bleeding into one another. We need to contain it. Thor shouted, staggering to his feet. How? Sakura called back, helping an injured Hinata. Odin's spear, Freya said, her gaze fixing on something behind the throne. Gungnir. It can control the energies. They all turned to see Gungnir mounted on the wall behind the throne, the legendary spear of the All-Father, more ornate and powerful than Stormbringer. Only Odin or his chosen successor can wield it, Thor warned. Good thing I'm his son then, Naruto said, already moving toward the spear. Loki recovered quickly, throwing a dagger that caught Naruto in the shoulder. He stumbled but didn't stop. Another dagger flew past his head as he reached the wall and pulled Gungnir from its mount. The moment his hands closed around the shaft, power surged through him, different from Stormbringer's storm energy. This was older, deeper, like the roots of Yggdrasil itself. Knowledge flooded his mind, runes, spells, the true names of things, the structure of the 9 realms. It accepts him. Thor said, awe in his voice. Naruto turned, Gungnir glowing with golden light in his hands. The spear felt right, as if it had been waiting for him. This ends now, he said, his voice carrying a new authority. Loki backed away, actual fear in his eyes for the first time. You don't know how to use that power, boy. You'll destroy everything. Maybe not, Naruto admitted. But I know who I am now. He strode toward the unstable portal, Gungnir held high. The artifacts, the casket and the fire orb, responded to the spear's presence, their chaotic energies becoming more focused. The prophecy, Freya whispered, realization dawning. When the twilight falls on gods and men, a child of 2 realms shall wield the spear. It never specified. Which spear, Thor said, understanding as well. Naruto reached the center of the room, directly beneath the portal. He could feel the pull of the convergence, the unnatural alignment of realms that shouldn't touch. With Gungnir, he could see the structure of it all, the tangled branches of Yggdrasil, the strained connections between worlds. "I need help," he called to his friends. "Everyone, lend me your strength." The shinobi moved to his side without hesitation. Sakura and Hinata placed their hands on his shoulders. Kakashi and Shikamaru stood behind them, channeling chakra. Thor stepped up, placing his hand over Naruto's on Gungnir's shaft. After a moment's hesitation, Freya joined them, her magic flowing into the growing network of energy. "This won't work," Loki shouted, but there was desperation in his voice now. "The convergence is destiny." "Maybe," Naruto acknowledged. "But not today. Not your way." He raised Gungnir higher, channeling everything through it, his chakra, Kurama's power, the storm energy that was his divine birthright, and the combined strengths of his friends. The spear blazed with light, becoming almost too bright to look at. "Shinobi of the Leaf, don't give up," Naruto said, feeling the power build to almost unbearable levels. "And apparently, neither do the sons of Odin." He thrust Gungnir upward into the heart of the portal. Reality itself seemed to bend around the contact point. The artifacts, the casket and the fire orb, were drawn toward the spear, orbiting it like moons around a planet. "By the blood of Asgard and the will of the leaf," Naruto intoned, words coming to him from somewhere beyond conscious thought, "I command the realms to their proper places." Golden light exploded outward from Gungnir, enveloping the throne room, the palace, and finally all of Asgard. Through the windows, they could see the sickly storm dissipating, replaced by rippling waves of restorative energy. The portal above them began to contract, its edges smoothing out. The casket and the fire orb were drawn into it, disappearing with twin flashes of light. With a final pulse of energy, the portal snapped shut, leaving only a faint shimmer in the air. Silence fell over the throne room. Naruto stood in the center, Gungnir still raised, his entire body glowing with golden light. Slowly, the glow faded, and he lowered the spear, exhaustion hitting him like a physical blow. "You did it," Sakura whispered, steadying him as he swayed. "We did it," Naruto corrected, leaning on the spear for support. "Everyone together." "The convergence is halted," Thor confirmed, looking out at the now calm sky. "The realms return to their proper alignment." "Impossible," Loki muttered, staring at Naruto with a mixture of rage and fascination. "The prophecy cannot be rewritten." "I didn't rewrite it," Naruto said, turning to face the trickster. "I just changed the timeline. Ragnarok might still come someday, but not on your schedule." A slow clapping sound echoed through the damaged throne room. They all turned to see Odin standing in the doorway, looking not at all like someone who had been in a magical coma. "Well done, my son," the All-Father said, his single eye gleaming with satisfaction. "You have exceeded my expectations." "You knew," Naruto realized, anger building inside him. "You knew what Loki was planning all along." "Of course he knew," Loki spat, his own fury evident. "The old man sees all the threads of fate. He allowed this to happen, encouraged it, even, to test you. Is that true?" Thor demanded, stepping toward his father. Odin's expression remained impassive. Loki's scheming presented an opportunity. "To awaken your potential," he nodded to Naruto, "and to strengthen Asgard against the true Ragnarok to come." "You risked everything," Freya said, her voice cold with rage. "All the realms could have been destroyed." "A calculated risk," Odin replied. "I had faith in my son's abilities." "You manipulative old bastard," Naruto growled, Gungnir humming dangerously in his grip. Odin's eye narrowed. "Watch your tongue, boy. You may have wielded the spear today, but you are still learning what it means to be a god. And you still haven't learned what it means to be a decent father," Naruto shot back. He looked at Loki, then at Thor, and finally back at Odin. "You play with everyone like they're pieces on a board. Your own sons included. Such is the burden of rule," Odin said, unmoved. Decisions must be made for the greater good, regardless of personal cost. The greater good, Naruto repeated. That's what the village elders said when they made me a Jinchuriki. What Danzo said when he ordered the Uchiha massacre. It's what every powerful person says when they do terrible things to others. He stepped forward, Gungnir still in his hand. For a moment, it seemed he might challenge Odin directly. The All-Father's hand drifted to his side, where a sword hung. Naruto, Kakashi said quietly, placing a hand on his shoulder. Think carefully. Naruto took a deep breath, then planted Gungnir on the floor. I'm not giving this back, he said to Odin. Not yet. You've proven you can't be trusted with it. Odin's expression darkened, but before he could respond, Thor spoke up. Father, enough. Naruto has saved the realms today. He has earned the right to speak his mind, and to hold the spear until his task is complete. And what task is that? Odin asked, his gaze not leaving Naruto. Fixing the damage to Yggdrasil, Naruto said. The world tree is still injured. I felt it through Gungnir. It needs healing, and apparently, I'm the only one who cares enough to do it properly instead of using it as a test. Odin was silent for a long moment. You overreach, boy. Maybe, Naruto shrugged. But I've got something you don't. And what is that? Friends will tell me when I'm being an ass, Naruto grinned, gesturing to the shinobi and Freya. People who care about me, not what I can do for them. A flicker of something, perhaps regret, crossed Odin's face before it hardened again. Very well. Keep the spear for now. Heal the world tree if you can. But remember this, with Gungnir comes responsibility. The weight of 9 realms rests upon whoever holds it. I'm used to carrying heavy burdens, Naruto said, his hand unconsciously moving to his stomach where Kurama's seal lay. Odin nodded once, then turned his attention to Loki, who had remained surprisingly quiet during the exchange. As for you, trickster, your punishment awaits. Of course it does, Loki said, his voice dripping with bitterness. The All-Father must maintain the appearance of justice. Guards entered the throne room, surrounding Loki with spears pointed at his throat. Take him to the dungeons, Odin commanded. I will decide his fate later. As Loki was led away, he locked eyes with Naruto. Don't believe for a moment that you've won, godling. You've merely postponed the inevitable. And in doing so, you've bound yourself to Odin's game more surely than I ever was. With that cryptic warning, he was gone, leaving a damaged throne room filled with exhausted warriors and unresolved tensions. The rifts in Midgard should be closing now, Thor said, breaking the awkward silence. The realms will stabilize in the coming days. Good, Naruto nodded. Then we can focus on healing the world tree. Not we, Kakashi said gently. You, Naruto. The rest of us need to return to Konoha. Naruto looked at his sensei in surprise. What? But I'm coming back too. Kakashi shook his head. You're needed here for now. We all saw what happens when the world tree is damaged. Someone has to make sure it's properly healed, and that someone seems to be you. But, Kakashi-sensei is right, Sakura said, squeezing his arm. This is your quest now, Naruto. Your heritage. We'll handle things back home until you're done. Besides, Shikamaru added with his usual pragmatic tone, having someone with your new status maintaining diplomatic relations between Konoha and the 9 realms could be advantageous. You want me to be an ambassador? Naruto asked incredulously. Why not? Hinata spoke up, her quiet voice firm. You've always built bridges between people, Naruto-kun. Now you're building them between worlds. Naruto looked at each of his friends, seeing the certainty in their eyes. They believed in him, trusted him with this responsibility. All right, he said finally. But I'm coming back to visit. Often. We'd expect nothing less, Kakashi I smiled. Thor stepped forward. I will ensure your friends return safely to Midgard, brother. Heimdall awaits them at the Bifrost. The shinobi prepared to depart, each saying goodbye to Naruto in their own way. Sakura hugged him tightly, whispering threats about what would happen if he didn't visit soon. Kakashi gave him a proud nod, while Shikamaru offered a lazy wave and a "try not to be too troublesome" to the gods. Hinata's goodbye was a gentle touch on his arm and a soft smile that spoke volumes. As they left with Thor, Naruto found himself alone in the damaged throne room with Freya. Odin had departed as well, presumably to deal with the aftermath of Loki's scheme throughout Asgard. So, Freya said, studying him. The son of Odin becomes the keeper of Gungnir. Temporarily, Naruto clarified. Just until the world tree is healed. And then? Naruto looked at the legendary spear in his hands. Then I decide what kind of god I want to be. If any. Freya stepped closer. And what of your curse? What curse? The curse of Odin's blood, she said softly. The burden of power. The weight of knowing too much and living too long. Naruto considered this. I don't know yet. But I do know I don't want to face it alone. Freya's eyes widened slightly, understanding his implication. I am no companion for a son of Odin. Good thing I'm also the son of Kushina Uzumaki, Naruto grinned. Stubbornest kunoichi in the hidden leaf, according to everyone who knew her. Despite herself, Freya smiled. You are not what I expected, Naruto. Yeah, I get that a lot. He offered her his hand. Help me heal the world tree. I could use someone who actually knows what they're doing. Freya looked at his outstretched hand for a long moment before taking it. The witch and the godling. What a strange pair we make. The goddess and the maelstrom, Naruto corrected, feeling warmth spread through him at her touch. Has a better ring to it, don't you think? Together, they left the throne room, Gungnir glowing softly as if approving of the alliance. Outside, the skies of Asgard had cleared, stars shining brilliantly in the eternal twilight. The golden city gleamed, damaged but unbowed. In the days that followed, Naruto and Freya descended to the heart of Asgard, where Yggdrasil's trunk passed through the realm. With Gungnir channeling their combined powers, Naruto's divine storm energy and Freya's ancient Vanir magic, they began the slow process of healing the world tree. As they worked, something grew between them, a connection that went beyond their shared task. In Freya, Naruto found someone who understood the burden of power and the pain of being used by others. In Naruto, Freya discovered something she had thought long lost, hope. The healers of Asgard spoke of how the Golden Sun and the Vanir which worked tirelessly, day and night, their powers blending in ways never before seen. They said the world tree responded to their combined energy, its wounds closing faster than anyone had thought possible. And on the seventh night, when the healing was complete and the world tree once again pulsed with healthy blue light, Naruto and Freya stood together beneath its massive branches. It's done, Freya said, a note of wonder in her voice. The tree is whole again. We make a pretty good team, Naruto said, setting Gungnir aside. Who would have thought? Freya turned to him, her expression serious. What will you do now? Return Gungnir to Odin? Go back to your Midgard village? Eventually, yes to both, Naruto nodded. But first. He took her hands in his. I was thinking we could explore the 9 realms together. You know, diplomatic missions. Keeping an eye on things. Making sure Loki doesn't try again. Is that what they call it now? Diplomatic missions? Freya arched an eyebrow, but didn't pull her hands away. Well, I am technically an ambassador now, Naruto grinned. Very official. Lots of responsibility. And you wish me to accompany you on these official duties? Can you think of anyone better? You know all the realms, you're incredibly powerful, and, he hesitated, then plunged ahead, and I like being around you. A lot. Freya's expression softened in a way few had ever seen. Even knowing what I am. A bitter, vengeful witch who tried to kill you when we first met. Especially because of that, Naruto laughed. It means you're honest about your feelings. She studied him for a long moment, then slowly leaned forward and pressed her lips to his. The kiss was gentle at first, then deepened with a hunger that surprised them both. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. Was that honest enough for you? Freya asked, a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. Crystal clear, Naruto replied, a bit dazed. So, is that a yes to the realms thing? It is, she confirmed. Though I warn you, I am not easy to travel with. I have many enemies. Good thing you've got the son of Odin with you then, Naruto winked. And a Jinchuriki from Konoha. Double protection. Freya laughed, a sound like silver bells that echoed through the cavern. The 9 realms won't know what hit them. Above them, the world tree seemed to shimmer with approval, its light reflecting off Gungnir where it leaned against the trunk. The spear would eventually return to Odin, but not yet. For now, it belonged to the one who had proven himself worthy of it, not through birthright, but through heart. In the weeks that followed, tales began to spread throughout the 9 realms of the golden-haired godling and the Vanir which who traveled between worlds, mending rifts, forging alliances, and occasionally causing trouble of their own. Some said they were agents of Asgard, others claimed they served no realm but themselves. All agreed on one thing, however, where the storm and the feather went, change followed. And in Konoha, Naruto's friends would sometimes look up at the night sky and smile, knowing that somewhere out there, the #1 hyperactive knucklehead ninja was still defying expectations, just on a slightly larger scale. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.